Well, hello, and what a start we've had to Chelsea. A few Royal visits yesterday.
Yes.
And there's been a real excitement in the air because it's Medals Day, your favourite day.
It is my favourite day of the whole week. We were here bright and early to give out those medals. You could see all the designers, their anticipation. So many look very nervous because it is a huge achievement. And I'm going to also add this year, there've been a few surprises as well.
Can't wait to find out.
I'll tell you all. Now, we have got a packed programme with our fantastic team of experts on hand with more advice for your garden. Coming up from the RHS Chelsea Flower Show 2023, an event supported by the Newt in Somerset.
Carol is basking in the golden glow of the Great Pavilion and celebrating some of our most loved plants and showing you how to best use them this summer.
I'll be meeting the expert growers of agapanthus and tulips and finding out from them how we can get the very best from those plants in our own gardens.
Plus, Toby is back with his guide on how to spruce up your garden the Chelsea way.
I'm showing you how to create a real splash. It won't cost you a fortune. Take your garden to the next level.
Now, Nikki, are you feeling a little bit peckish?
Peckish? I'm starving, always.
Well, we're in for a treat because I'm chatting to chef and star of the Great British Menu, Nisha Katona, about her love of growing her own food. Plus, she'll be showing us how you can spice up our summer barbecues with some tasty recipes.
Oh, sounds delicious, doesn't it? Time now, though, to get some medal results. Our very own Chelsea medal-winning designer, Nick Bailey, and I joined the RHS very early this morning as the awards were handed out. It's 7 a.m. It's Medals Day, and my goodness, you can feel the nerves in it, can't we?
You really can, and I know exactly how these designers are feeling. Absolute trepidation. They're about to be judged by the world.
They certainly are. And I'm going to be joined by Sarah Pole from the RHS. So, shall we get started?
Let's go.
Come on.
Just delighted to present you with a gold medal.
Silver medal. There we go.
I'm delighted to present you with a gold. I'd like to present you with a silver gilt medal.
Okay,
Well
thank
done.
You. Thank you very much. Thank you.
I'd like to present you with a gold medal.
Yes!
I'm delighted to present you with a silver gilt medal.
Thank you very
Well
much.
done.
Thank you.
This space is put together by one of my absolute design heroes, Cleve West. It is the Centre Point Garden, and extraordinarily, he has achieved 6 golds at Chelsea before. Good luck, Cleve.
I'm delighted to present you with a gold medal. On behalf of the RHS, I'm delighted to present you with your gold medal.
And you officially get the biggest cheer as well.
I'm delighted to present you with a silver gilt medal.
Oh,
well
thank you
done.
very much.
A gold medal. I'm delighted to present you with a gold medal.
Well done! Hooray! We did not expect this.
Joe Laura, a massive congratulations. You are allowed to cry. Don't worry, you've
Yeah,
full permission.
I'll cry later.
First time here, and you got a gold medal.
I'd like to present you with a silver gilt medal. Well done. Well done. I'm delighted to present you with a silver gilt medal. Well done.
This is the biophilic Otsu Hanari garden by famed Chelsea garden designer, Mr. Ishihara. Now, it's a fabulous garden, and he has won 11 golds in the past. Could be up for another one now.
On behalf of the RHS, I'm delighted to present you with a gold medal. Now, I love admiring all of the colour across the showground, and this year there is one garden on Main Avenue that has really caught my eye. It's the Nurture Landscapes garden and has been designed by Sarah Price, who's created this stunning space with a real calming palette that still has a real impact. And Sarah is with me now, so welcome. Congratulations on winning gold. I really want to say that first of all.
Oh, thank you.
It's been 5 years since you've been here at Chelsea. You won gold in 2018, and to come back and win again must feel really good.
Oh, it's brilliant. I've had ideas for this garden for years, probably 8 years, and it's a huge collaborative effort.
Loads of people are involved, aren't there?
Absolutely. Crocus have grown all the plants, and that was no easy feat. To get the iris into flower was incredible.
And I suppose that time has given you time to find inspiration for this garden, because it's a loose reconstruction on Benton End, which is in Suffolk, the house and gardens there. Tell us a bit more about that. It's a really interesting story.
Yes, Cedric Morris, the artist, painter and plantsman, lived at Benton End and ran an art school there. And it was really his iris that I drew inspiration for the colour palette of this garden. They're so exquisite. They're really like no other iris in that it's really hard to describe their colours. They kind of have soft greys, browns, golds.
And it's on this colour that you sort of based the whole garden, because it's quite muted, isn't it?
It is muted. You know, the colour of the iris is quite subtle. It's not garish. They're very elegant, but they're kind of rich, they're mysterious, they're hard to describe, and so I really wanted to create a backdrop that would highlight the complexity of the patterns, the veining within the flowers.
So it's about creating those layers with that colour, which you can see with different plants here, can't you?
Absolutely, it's many things. It's firstly, we're surrounded by people, and it's about really drawing the crowds into the garden and creating an atmosphere with colour. So the backdrop of my garden has very strong, you know, deep purples, yellow ochres, and then in turn not only creates the atmosphere, but it creates a backdrop to show up.
And what advice would you give to people at home who want to have a garden but don't want to use too many colours, a bit like this, and you know, but still get that variety?
Yeah, I would say less is more. I would also, you know, we're outside, the light is brighter. It's not like choosing colour for your interiors.
Yeah.
You have to go deeper. You have to be a bit more dramatic. Also, as you can see in this garden, I've used Eleagna's Quicksilver. I've used plants to layer the colour, so even if it goes on very bright, you can kind of layer it. You've got to imagine there's going to be shadow cast, there's going to be trees in front, flowers in front, so be bolder and don't be afraid to kind of put a very bold base down and then wash over with a lighter colour.
Well, you've been very bold and that's been very successful. Sarah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Some great tips from Sarah there, and what an exquisite garden. Now, stepping away from the excitement of the main avenue, we're taking a more tranquil approach with the sanctuary gardens, and I'm delighted to talk to Charlie, the designer here. This is a beautiful garden, Charlie, and congratulations. Your second gold at Chelsea.
No, yeah, it's gone well again, which is fantastic and great for the team and everyone involved, really.
Be honest, is there more pressure, though, having won a gold before?
Yeah, definitely.
Come on.
It definitely did feel a bit more pressure. Last year went very well, but I had sort of the same planting team. Yeah, we were confident sort of we might be able to do it again, and luckily it all came together.
Isn't there a family connection somewhere along the line?
Yeah, so my wife's family have been involved in making show gardens for a long time and have won sort of a number of golds and best in shows, and so that adds definitely a bit of pressure. But last year, I got married on the Saturday of the show, so
oh my goodness.
This year's a little bit calmer. So a bigger garden, but less going on in personal life, so it's actually been okay.
Let's talk about your garden, because it is so beautiful. It's been designed with people with a rare form of dementia in mind. But this, in a way, is a garden for everybody. That's one of the principles you wanted to really get across, that people suffering from dementia will enjoy this garden, but also carers and loved ones as well. And what really catches my eye is the colour blue. It's striking. Why did you decide to use that?
So that's all to do with the contrast. So a good way of thinking about it is almost to go the other way. So an environment that would be really bad for someone with a visual form of dementia might be a bathroom, where the floor's white, the walls are white, the toilet's white, there's glass mirrors, and it almost is just contrastless, and the vision can fragment, and it's a very difficult environment to be in. So we've tried to then go the other way from that. So sort of where you see blue, you can sit. Yes. And where you see grey concrete and gravel, you can walk. The planting is sort of green, but with a bit of colour. So you make a sort of visual language for each sort of component system.
What tips would you give someone who's got a garden, or perhaps a bit of outside space, and they want to incorporate that in their planting?
If you try and make something that you feel like you can step into, that definitely helps create that sort of sanctuary feeling. Because if you just have, say, your lawn, and you put planting all around the outside of it, you almost see it all at once. Whereas if you make a sense of enclosure and have something that you maybe have to sort of get round the back, then within that you might get that feeling of calm. And, you know, use trees, cover your boundaries with green. The greener it is, I think, the bigger the impact will be. So
Yeah, definitely. I mean, so many people live in cities and towns. We just heard a helicopter go above our head. Our gardens are our sanctuary, and this one is beautiful. And again, congratulations on the gold.
Brilliant, thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed. Now it is time to jump back into the action. It's not just on the gardens where the medals were handed out today. There was a gold rush in the Great Pavilion. But what tips can we take away from the growers that came out on top?
I'm always in awe of the hard work that exhibitors put in to creating these astounding displays. And I'm on the lookout for expert tips so we can produce plants of this quality in our own gardens. Steve, congratulations.
Thank you.
Double gold again for your agapanthus nerines and your clivias. Wonderful.
Yes, it's the 4th year on the trot we've had double gold, and I believe it's the first time in Chelsea's history.
So you're obviously the right person to come to find out all about growing agapanthus.
You could say that, yeah.
So come on, a few simple, straightforward rules.
Well, there's a couple of simple steps. First of all, if you've got 2 or 3 small agapanthus, cram them in a 12-inch container. They're happy for 2 years without repotting because they like to be really congested in the container.
What sort of compost would you use?
2 parts compost, 1 part alpine grit. As long as it's well drained,
Yeah.
cram them in the pot and they'll be well away.
Right.
As winter comes, they need a little bit of protection, keep it dry, and then in spring, start feeding a high potash feed, and up it'll come, and you'll get a lovely flower.
Right. Look at this. I think this is marvellous because you can really see how it grows.
Yeah.
And doesn't that just show you what strong, sturdy roots
It does,
they've got?
and that shows you these roots are water storage organs, so they are drought tolerant.
Right.
So if you go away for a week or so, they're quite happy
Yeah.
without the water.
I'd be happy if I was an agapanthus on your stem.
Thank you.
Amanda, you're part of a dynasty of tulip growers because the Bloms have been growing tulips since 1860. Is
That's
that
right, Carol, yes, that's right.
So I know you all know everything about them. But I mean, congratulations on this, on your gold medal and on this beautiful display. If I'm growing tulips, what must I take into account? What do they really love?
Tulips really love good drainage. They like to be in sun as well. Partial shade will be good, just to prolong the flowering period.
And when do you recommend actually planting your bulbs?
As late as October, November. Generally, after the first frost, you don't want the ground to be too soft, but after the first frost, the weather starts dropping, and that's the ideal to start planting.
They actually need cold, don't they?
They do. They need the cold in order to produce their root system, so they don't need any protection during the winter period.
Right. So when you're planting them, how deep do they need to go?
About 4 to 6 inches deep. A good rule to remember that is 2.5 times the size of the bulb, and that generally works out to be about 4 to 6 inches.
So don't be scared of planting them too deep.
No, not at all. No.
Right. So with all that brilliant advice from an absolute expert, I hope I'm going to have tulips like this next year.
Well, joining me now is chef and star of Great British Menu, Nisha Katona. Do you know what? I followed your career being a foodie myself, and I'm so pleased to have you here and talk about your love of gardens, because this has been in your family for years and years, hasn't it?
It really has, my goodness. I think that comes from being an immigrant. I think parents came over in the 1960s and they had to grow the vegetables that they wanted to cook. In those days, you couldn't really get garlic, you couldn't really get onion very easily, and ginger. And so they had, they lived out of pots and window boxes, and it made them very resourceful. And we learned that, you learn that basically you use every part of the plant. Exactly.
Yeah.
So you use the tops, you use the flowers, the pods, the roots, every bit of it, the leaf, the stalk. Make the most extraordinary dishes with them.
I was going to say, and it teaches you how to cook and to be resourceful, doesn't it?
It does, and it's so lovely to be sort of, for the good tilled earth part of your life. It's so therapeutic, and you feel so clever when you can go into your garden, grow something and bring it in and feed a family with what you've grown with your own hands. That self-sufficiency, it's good for the soul, isn't it?
Yeah, and the inspiration that you've got from your family meant that you yourself have love growing your own vegetables.
Very much so. You know, and that's, you know, I was walking around Chelsea yesterday, which was, can I tell you, a treat. I can't believe that you even have me here. It's incredible. But it was the vegetable gardens that I think are most breathtaking. I stopped and told somebody it was one of the most beautiful things I'd ever seen. Rows of kale and pak choi, stunning, more beautiful than any flower, I think.
And as a chef then, do you think you develop your recipes knowing that you want to develop recipes, that food that you've grown yourself and that people themselves will be able to have accessible to them?
Very much so. For me, the garden leads the kitchen. So I will go out in the garden, honestly, with a basket and a pair of scissors, and I will see what's grown. You know, what is ready for the pot. Is it the pods of the peas? Because we make a great curry with just pea pods. Is it the shoots of something? And then I will bring that in, and then I will just get my ingredients out and cook according to what's in the garden. So the garden leads the pan, and it's a lovely way of cooking then.
Yeah, no, exactly. Now, you've recently moved. I know that you've got a vast garden, and are you going to be getting some tips here at Chelsea?
Very much so. I moved, so I'm a northern lass. I live on the Wirral, sort of near Liverpool, and I bought a house because of the garden. So we got horses and goats. It's kind of a small holding, and it had 15 of the most beautiful Corsican pines, and Storm Arwen took out 10 of them.
No.
So I was left with all of this, you know, blank canvas space, and so it's now raised veg boxes. I'm going to get some trees that produce beautiful flowers, so things like the cornus, Davidia, things that I've seen at Chelsea. You know, this is what's so great about going to RHS, and you go through the year and you can see what colours and what structures and architecture you can give to your garden at different times of the year. I'm an addict.
Well, Nisha, I know you're going to be looking around, but you've also made time to cook for us later, to tell us about different things you can do for your summer barbecues, yeah?
That's exactly what it's about. It's about simplicity. It's about going out to your window box with a pair of scissors and what you can wield in the kitchen from what your own home gives you. There's nothing better.
We're looking forward to that. I've lucked out because I'm going to be joining you.
I'm lucked out to meet you. It's really good to be here.
Oh, sounds delicious. And we'll post all the ingredients for Nisha's recipes on our socials. Now, here's what else we've got coming up. Chris delves into one of the most competitive contests at Chelsea as we reveal the Florist of the Year 2023. And James is helping you to get growing with his beginner's guide to the mysterious world of bonsai. But first, with the bank holiday fast approaching, no doubt you'll be heading into your local garden centre or nursery, and fingers crossed we'll have sunshine to stock up for summer. And it's easy to reach for the familiar plants we all love, but there are simple swaps you could make that mean you get more out of the plants you choose. I'm joined by Mark because this is something, Mark, that you are passionate about, isn't it?
Absolutely, Nikki. I'm opening my summer swap shop this week. So classic plants like peonies, irises are looking great in the border at the moment, but there are some brilliant plants that we can be putting in our gardens for longer flowering and also are more resistant to our changing climate.
Why do you think we're so reticent to try something new? What should we be looking at?
Well, I'm going to be looking at the wonderful annuals this time. So annuals are going to give us that longer flowering, they're going to look great in the borders, and don't be scared of them.
You see, it's all about the annuals, isn't it, Mark? Let's take a look at the first set of swaps we can make.
Jane, the garden is looking fabulous. I love the fact you're also colour matching, which I really love. Now, we're getting hotter summers and sort of wetter winters, and we're having to adapt really to how we plant our gardens. But that's where annuals are really good, isn't it?
I think the interesting thing about annuals is that they're going to grow where they are happy.
Yes.
And that's what's brilliant about them. So if you naturally let them go, they will be the ones that survive and tolerate those conditions.
So I'm on the lookout for some really good annuals which are drought tolerant, but also have a little bit of interest, so maybe self-seeders or seed heads. What have we got in the garden?
I've got Nigella Damascena. It's absolutely brilliant for a feathery texture. So I put it with fennel just to kind of echo that on a lower level.
That seed head as well, it's just gorgeous, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then you've got the lovely poppy right next to it.
Beth's poppy, named after Beth Chatto. The prettiest pink you can imagine, so delicate, and tiny seed heads.
And I noticed there's a little olea on the corner, but there's a story behind that, isn't there?
Well, she self-seeded among all the Nigella, and I saw that something different was coming up, and she just had to be welcomed into the garden because she'd made her own way here.
With our ever-changing climates, there are some annuals that we can grow as perennials, just with a little bit of care and attention.
Take this osteospermum. It's grown as an annual in this country, which means it's unlikely to survive our cold, wet winters. To extend its life, why not think about growing it in a pot so you can bring it indoors over the winter and pop it out again in the spring so you get another hit of colour the following year.
And then why not pick out that gorgeous purple with that lovely purple Nicotiana at the back. Pair those two together and you've got a wonderful combination.
Mark will be back tomorrow with more from his summertime swap shop. Now, the gardens here are undoubtedly world class, but that doesn't mean there aren't ideas we can use in our own. And across this week, Rachel is diving into our borders, looking at the skills and techniques designers here at Chelsea have used to create them and how you can do the same at home.
I absolutely love coming to Chelsea to get inspiration from my own garden. And this year there are some incredible plant choices that I think will take all our gardens to the next level. And today we're going to be looking at foliage because I believe it's absolutely essential to the look and the feel of the whole garden. And here on this Japanese garden, foliage really is king. It's all about the different leaf patterns and textures. There are lots of aces, which are actually key to Japanese garden design. And they're so beautiful. They have this palmate leaf, so they're sort of spread out like the palm of your hand. Some of them are sort of fairly solid and others are very feathery and finely dissected. Now they're deciduous, which means obviously that you don't have leaves all through the year, but the actual shape of the shrubs or the trees is really good. So they make a nice structure through the winter as well. And there are all sorts of gorgeous things just growing down here through the moss. We've got Hutinia, and that has at least 3 different colours in a single leaf. You've got the red around the margin and peachy shades, and then it comes in towards the green right in the centre of the leaf. And there are some edible plants here too. So we've got a mint, a water mint down here, and then there's a nasturtium. So much variety just in terms of leaf colour, shape and texture alone, and it really makes the whole garden. From something very lush and slightly damp growing conditions to something rather different. This is more arid, drought-tolerant plants, much more sunny and open. And so we're going to see different kinds of plants used. And I think so important always to look at the hard landscaping around us. So here, they've got this wonderful slate. It's really textural and these beautiful composite material as well. And it means that the colours stand out beautifully against them. Just look at the Achillea up there, lovely sort of leafy foliage, just fern-like almost, and standing up straight against that back wall. We've also got some euphorbia here and lovely feathery fennel just coming through. But if you haven't got enough space to plant lots of different foliage, you can get the similar effect just in a single container. We've got so much variety in here. There's Muhlenbeckia, which just sort of drizzles down the front of the pot, very elegant, very slender, dark stems and rounded foliage and sort of bright emerald green. I must say, I absolutely love flowers and flower colour, but just look what amazing combinations you can make just with the foliage.
And Rachel will be back later in our Chelsea clinic answering your gardening questions. But before that, Chris has been checking out what some of the UK's most influential florists have been creating this year.
One of the most eye-catching areas at Chelsea has to be the floristry exhibits. The talent and creativity that goes into making the designs is out of this world. This year, to win the much coveted Florist of the Year award, designers have been challenged with turning lampposts and bins into award-winning pieces of art. And let me tell you, they didn't disappoint. I'm here with Julie Pearson, who's just found out she's won gold for her installation. How do you feel? I know how you feel because you...
My eyes. I didn't realise quite how emotional about it.
Tell me about your installation. What was the brief?
The brief was we had to use a drum, so I decided to go for a botanical spillage.
How did you decide what to use?
But because of the season we've had, there wasn't actually that much availability, and so I've gone with the Fritillaria, the Amaryllis, things that are long-lasting.
For me, the colour scheme is incredible.
I wanted the contrast, the luminosity of the yellow and the greens against the black. I wasn't really too much concerned about the colours, but just the contrast.
It definitely worked with the judges. Gold.
I'm so excited, I can't wait to tell my family.
So, Nicola, you've literally just found out 5 minutes ago that you won silver gilt. How do you feel? Has it sunk in?
No, it's not sunk in. Really excited. I only thought I was going to get bronze. It's the first time I've been here. I didn't really know what to expect.
Talk me through your piece. What was the thinking behind it? What were you trying to achieve?
Okay, so I'm very, very keen on sustainable floristry, so I don't like to use anything that I can't recycle or compost. Because we started with the oil barrel,
Yep.
I made a frame out of the willow that I grow on my site. So you can see in here, this is all the willow. When I get back to my flower farm, I'm going to compost it. I'm going to cut it all up and we'll go on the compost heap and use it to grow more flowers.
Silver gilt, your first time here. I mean, can you put into words how that feels?
I simply just can't believe it. It's incredible.
There's lots of medal celebrations going on here, but it's time to find out who's been crowned Florist of the Year. And Nikki's caught up with them to hear all about it.
Well, I'm delighted to be with Charlotte and Vicky, so congratulations.
Thank you.
RHS Chelsea Florist or Florists of the Year. And also another gold. How does it feel?
It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. I can't believe it. We've done it again.
But how long have you two been together? Because you've got quite a few golds under your belt, haven't you, Charlotte?
Yes, 20 years we've been together at my granddad's shop, so a very, very long time. It's been in the family 80 years. It was his granddad's before that.
Wow.
So.
Well, it is obviously a winning combination. Quickly talk us through this marvellous display.
So the design had to be sustainable design. It's on a metal bin, which is here, you can just see. And then there was no floral foam used at all, so you were not allowed to use floral foam.
Yeah, that's gone, that's history.
Not allowed. So we had to find a new medium which we could use to obviously keep the flowers alive and sustain their life. So we decided to do a bottle appeal. So we basically asked people from local businesses, restaurants, anywhere that could come and bring us bottles, which we've got a huge amount of bottles.
Well, what is so lovely about this is that we can do this at home, can't we?
Yeah.
So some quick tips then for people who want to achieve something like this.
Recycle your wine bottles that you drank at the weekend.
Yes,
Clean
very
them
good.
out.
Very good. Get rid of the evidence, yes.
Clean them out, put them on the windowsill and get some flowers out the garden.
Brilliant. Drink responsibly and then you've got
Enjoy
this
the flowers.
as a result.
Yes, definitely.
It is marvellous. And girls, congratulations.
Thank you.
So much.
I'm delighted to be back with Chef Nisha Katona, and it's time to fire up the barbecue. Very excited. 3 dishes we've got to get through.
Three dishes, really quickly, but that's the way I like to cook. And barbecue, weather, and spring in the garden, it's just heaven. Because it's all about what we can grow and how we can throw it into our food and make it magical. Lamb chops, the ultimate barbecue dish, and I know you're a fan. I know you're a fan. So lamb chops work really well with 3 things: lemon, salt, and garlic. But what I'm going to use for this is wild garlic. So if I just pass that to you.
Yeah.
Wild garlic, it's like finding treasure in your garden. If you find a wild garlic plant, it's there forever. It will come every year. So grab it while you can and turn it into pesto, which is basically your wild garlic, a bit of salt.
Yeah.
That's a kind of abrasive, but also it gives it that flavour. Lemon for the acidity. And what's very iconic of any pesto is toasted or non-toasted pine nuts.
Yeah.
Exactly. And what that does is it also gives you a bit of oil. Once you mash that up, you get that oil that helps almost marinate that meat. Okay? And then the last thing, this is a little twist just to give you a bit more oomph, and this is cumin powder. Optional. You don't have to put it in, but it's going to give you that little bit of warmth. So, thank you very much for doing that. But you could blitz it up in a hand blender.
Yeah.
And you end up then with this, and that's your wild garlic pesto. And all I'm going to do is smear that, yeah, do, onto my... You're not afraid at all about Social grace as I is throwing the garlic down. That's what I love about you. So we put that onto your lamb chops. You can, thank you. You can either griddle that, you can put it in a tin foil pouch and put it on your barbecue, and they are ready within minutes. Absolutely stunning.
Yummy.
Right, next, gin and tonic salmon. This is what it says on the tin.
Gin and tonic?
I kid you not. This is, I was once making a salmon dish, had a gin and tonic, and I just poured it into the marinade, and I cannot tell you how well it works. So this is what you do. Make yourself a gin and tonic.
Don't drink it.
Into the bowl. That's the hard part, isn't it? Into this, a little bit of garlic. Trust me, a little bit of garlic in with it. You need salt. You need, again, the lemon or the lime, which has come from a gin and tonic.
Yeah.
And coriander powder. Now, coriander powder is very herby and feminine and floral.
I love coriander.
I'm glad you do. I think it's worth having a bottle of that in your store
This is
cupboard.
fizzing up.
Fizzing, which is what we want, because what we're going to do is we're going to drop our salmon into it. Now, what happens that's very interesting is two things. One, the gin poaches the salmon, so the longer you can leave that, the better it will cook. It will almost cook like ceviche, but you can immediately put it into parcels again, foiled over, and this is the salmon if you want to taste it. Those are the lamb chops for you to get tucking into.
Look at this.
While I make for you a pea salad. Now, just before I finish that, into that gin and tonic marinade, I am just going to snip from my herb box whatever I can. So this is parsley, coriander, lemon thyme. You throw it in, and it all helps add to that marinade.
It's all about seasoning. That is perfect.
Yeah, seasoning, salt, lemon, wild garlic, that's what's going to bring those flavours out. Finally, a salad, because you need them, because we have to tick that salad box, but this is a lovely Asian pea shoot salad. Love pea shoots because it gets you using the whole of the pea plant. And all I do, you know these wartime marrow fat peas? Yes. Give them a little soak. Into your window box, you don't even need a garden. And that becomes a beautiful cut and come again crop where you just keep trimming it, throw it into salads, throw it into stir fries. Into this, I have got edamame beans that I've just defrosted, things from your garden like fennel fronds, heavenly, if I can reach across, nasturtium flowers, absolutely fantastic to give you a bit of flavour. And there's the edamame beans. Now we're going to make a super quick Asian dressing. Asian dressings are based on sesame oil. It's going to give you that toasted flavour.
Yeah.
A little bit of rice vinegar for a bit of sharpness. A little bit of soy to bring you that salt and that umami.
Yeah.
And then what's really important in Asian dressing is a little bit of brown sugar. Always in a salad dressing, you think about that sweet element. You are then simply going to toss that over, toss it together. This is quick cooking, isn't it?
This is so incredible. Lamb was lovely, the fish was punchy, and I'm going to taste that in a second. Now, if you want to know what the latest trends in gardening are, look no further than Chelsea. If, like me, you love to experiment and try something new, but don't always know where to start, then help is at hand. James Wong has the first of his guides this week to help you grow plants that might seem daunting. I'm ready. Can I cut you?
Yes. Can I stand here and watch? Fantastic.
My favourite thing about Chelsea is that it's just constantly introducing me to new ideas and really helping challenge some of my horticultural preconceptions. And this year, it's just a bonsai bonanza. People can think of them as really tricky to grow, really expensive, but that is just not the case. So I've decided to prove this by taking you on a bonsai journey to show you how to get started with a few simple tips and tricks. Before we get started, I should probably explain exactly what bonsai actually are, because they're often spoken about as if they're a species. Bonsai is just a pruning method, and I think the best way to think about them is essentially as Asian topiary, because in the West, when we try to create topiary, we generally aim for something that's geometric. Whereas in Asia, what you're trying to do with bonsai is create the illusion of a wild, rugged specimen that's growing high in the mountains. If you think that bonsai are delicate specimens that will demand a specialist glass house with humidity and heating controls, well, think again, because everything behind me has been grown outdoors with zero protection in Cheshire and has sailed through lows of -15 degrees. Looking at masterpieces like this, you could be forgiven that thinking that all bonsai are ancient and therefore priceless. But this specimen started life just 10 years ago when it was fished out of a skip as a tree stump.
And that really shows that to create prize-winning bonsai, you don't have to have loads of money, just attention and care. So if you want to know how to care for your bonsai, it really boils down to 3 simple things. One of them is how you create this dwarfing shape. That's simply done by pruning. In traditional topiary, you might just prune out the top layer. With bonsai, this also goes on below ground. Once a year, you're going to take this plant out of its pot to repot it, and you prune off a large amount of its roots. And by doing that, the cumulative effect is keeping the plant nice and small. The other thing you might wonder is how you create these incredible shapes. If you look closely here, you can actually see the bonsai wire. You just wrap this around the branches, and that makes them really pliable and easy to position. The last thing you need to know is watering. Now, I'm going to come clean here. Bonsai can be quite simple, but they are never low maintenance. So specimens like this will need watering in summer literally every day to keep them happy. And that's because they have this tiny pot and a really small root zone, so they dry out very quickly. The most incredible thing about bonsai is they're this perfect combination between fine art and horticulture. You're literally creating living sculpture. And with a few tips and tricks that I've given you today, I promise you, anyone can get started.
All week, Toby is showing us how we can transform our gardens the Chelsea way whilst watching our wallets at the same time. Yesterday, he showed us how to create a cost-effective entertaining space for our summer parties. And today, he's focusing on making a real splash in our gardens.
If you like the idea of a beautiful garden, then water can be the perfect addition to transform your space. And a pond is an easy place to start. Anyone can dig a hole in their garden, then line it with plastic to hold the water. The art comes in how you hide that pond liner. Now this is a beautiful example of a wildlife pond in Tom Massey's garden. It has gently sloping sides like beaches that allow frogs and newts and easy ways to clamber out to the dry land. And what he's used to line and disguise his plastic liner, well, it's quite ingenious. The usual material is pebbles, which you buy from the garden centres, but they're expensive, and not only that, they're quite slippery, and that means they always slide down under the weight of gravity, revealing the plastic underneath. So why not copy Tom? What he's done is use old builder's rubble, stuff that would normally be thrown away. It's much cheaper. Not only that, it's angular and grips together. Best of all, it'll provide a perfect home for marginal plants. These are plants like reeds that like their toes in the water and their heads in the sun and provide a perfect habitat for emerging damselflies and dragonflies. This is a beautiful wildlife-friendly feature for anyone on a budget. The Chelsea Flower Show is home to some magnificently large water features, but also some that are more subtle. Like this one, it's on the Natural Affinity Garden for aspens. I've never seen anything like it. It's just so wonderfully simple. It's a giant stone that doubles as a seat with a hole in it, and water spills out over a flat surface. But big or small, water features like this work in the same way, and it's a simple principle that you can copy in your own garden. Basically, there's a bucket in the ground or a sump that holds the water, and there's a pump goes in the base of that. That drives water up a pipe out to the top, and then it tumbles back down into the bucket. A tap isn't left running, so they're very economical to have. And they're also reasonably cheap to buy. Now this is probably my favourite feature in the whole of the Chelsea Flower Show. It looks like something that could come out of an art gallery because it's got rough edges on the outside and a polished centre. And it's such a wonderful idea because the water acts like a giant mirror, bringing light into darker spaces and shady corners. If this isn't your style, you could use galvanised bathtubs or those terracotta drip trays that go under pots. They'd reflect the light to make a wonderful bath for the birds. Because that's the thing about a water feature, it is the best way of bringing wildlife into your garden. A water feature needn't cost the earth.
Oh, thanks, Toby. Now, before we reach the end of the show, it's time for the Chelsea Clinic, where we answer your gardening questions. And joining us today is Rachel. Thanks for being here.
Oh, it's lovely to be here.
So what have you seen throughout the show that you've loved?
So much. I think it's a bumper show, I really do. I think one of the things I've been most drawn to are the irises that are in the front of that garden.
Stunning.
Those subtle colours. Sarah Price, the designer, and I believe you spoke to her, didn't you?
I was on the garden. It's just sublime, isn't it?
It looks incredible. I love all the trees, especially the multi-stem trees. A lot of trees, which I'd like to take home, but my garden just isn't big enough. Now, are you ready for the questions, Rachel? Should we get started?
Absolutely, let's do it.
Come on then. Debbie Conter on Instagram says, my question is about clematis, or clematis, if you want to pronounce it that way. Could you recommend one that will tolerate shade, please?
I think probably my favourite one for a shady spot is Nellie Moser, and she's well known for that. And she's got this lovely, soft, lilac-y pink colouring, and then in the middle of each petal is a sort of magenta stripe. And the good thing about growing it in shade is if you put her in the sun, it sort of fades. Those colours fade and they don't become so sort of rich and beautiful. So really good. But actually all clematis benefit from a bit of shade around the roots.
Lovely.
That's the other thing.
Angelica.
Well, I've got Steph here. Have you made it easy for me because it's on your necklace?
It is.
Thank you. What's your question for Rachel?
So, mine's a dahlia question. I'm a dahlia novice, and I was enviously eyeing Monty's bushy dahlias on the show last week, and mine have just got a big long stalk on them, and I pinched them out, but nothing's happening. How do I get them bushy and beautiful?
Right. Did you start them off in the pots?
Yes.
You did. OK, so you're doing all the right things. And I think if you've taken it down, but I wouldn't do that too much now. You know, let it get bigger. Is it the first year for growing these particular dahlias? So they will just get bigger, you know, as over the next few years, and you'll find you've got a sort of monster plant, and then you'll be dividing it up. So I think it's just a little bit of time, and also a nice sunny spot, good rich soil.
Brilliant, thank you. I'll give it a go.
We love dahlias, don't we?
Oh.
Beautiful,
Adore them.
beautiful. Let's try something a bit different, shall we? Chris McGee on Twitter says, my compost heap doesn't compost very quickly. Is there anything I can do to speed up the production?
I think people tend to be in a hurry with compost, and it's not always one of those things that you can rush. It does take time. And then it's the mix. It's what you put in. You want the green material, whether that's the grass cuttings or weeds, and you need some of the dry material that can be ripped up cardboard, or it can be bits of twigs and so on that you've shredded. So it's getting that right, and then turn it so the air gets in there, and also keep it moist. You can just sort of water it a bit if need be, and then you do have to wait a little bit. I think that's the other thing.
It's all about patience.
Patience is key, yes.
Well, let's quickly get this question from Marja Javon, mother and daughter-in-law combo from Liverpool. What is it?
I've got a south-facing garden with lots of clay soil. I'm just wondering what the best type of plants.
Do you know, that's the sort of best kind, you know, south-facing with clay soil is really fertile. Roses will absolutely love that.
Right, thank you.
Oh, lovely. It's all in the roses, Rachel. Thank you so, so much. And sadly, that's all we've got time for today. But keep your questions coming, because tomorrow, design guru Adam Frost will be answering them.
Also tomorrow, Chris has got his guide on how to get the most bang for your buck when buying plants. Carol is telling us why euphorbia is a must-have plant in our gardens and how you can look after it. And we'll be joined by 80s legend and keen gardener Kim Wilde.
Monty and Joe are back on BBC Two at 8 p.m. tonight with the full roundup from Medals Day and the most coveted award of all, the RHS Best Show Garden. And we'll see you tomorrow at 3:45 p.m. on BBC One.
I won't be there. Until then, from all of us. Bye. Bye.
Hello and welcome back to Chelsea on one of the most important days for designers and exhibitors. It's Medals Day, where they find out if all their hard work and dedication has paid off.
Indeed. The gardens and nurseries have all been judged, and this evening we will be revealing those all-important results.
The stakes are high this year. They're always high.
Always high. I mean, just getting here to Chelsea.
Yeah.
A, you have to jump through lots of hoops, and B, it's a big deal just to get to this point.
It really is. Well, Monty and I have the honour of presenting one of Chelsea's most prestigious awards today, the RHS Best Show Garden, which we'll be doing later in the show.
But it's not just about medals today. Also tonight, Francis is showing us the new plant launched at the show that we will all want to grow in our gardens this summer.
And Adam's taking a look behind the stunning garden, showing us how to create a space that is beautiful on the eye, but also benefits the environment too.
And he's designed for Diana Ross, Taylor Swift, and most recently, of course, Her Majesty Queen Camilla for the coronation. I will be chatting to the fashion designer, Bruce Oldfield.
First, here's a look at some of the results from the RHS Chelsea Flower Show 2023, an event supported by the Newt in Somerset. Never one to miss out on the action, Nikki Chapman and our own Chelsea medal winner, Nick Bailey, were up very early to join the RHS as they handed out the medals.
It's 7 a.m. It's Medals Day, and my goodness, you can feel the nerves, Nick, can't we?
You really can, and I know exactly how these designers are feeling. Absolute trepidation. They're about to be judged by the world.
We certainly are. And I'm going to be joined by Sarah Pole from the RHS. So, shall we get started?
Let's go.
Come on.
Just delighted to present you with a gold medal. Silver medal. There we go. I'm delighted to present you with a gold. I'd like to present you with a silver gilt medal.
Okay,
well
thank
done.
you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Nice to present you with a gold medal.
Yes!
I'm delighted to present you with a silver gilt medal.
Thank you very
well
much.
Done.
Thank you. This space is put together by one of my absolute design heroes, Cleve West. It is the Centre Point Garden, and extraordinarily, he has achieved 6 golds at Chelsea before. Good luck, Cleve.
I'm delighted to present you with a gold medal. On behalf of the RHS, I'm delighted to present you with your gold medal.
And you usually get the biggest cheer as well.
I'm delighted to present you with a silver gilt medal.
Oh,
well
thank you very
done.
much.
A gold medal. I'm delighted to present you with a gold medal.
Well done! Hooray! We did not expect this.
Joe Laura, a massive congratulations. You are allowed to cry. Don't worry,
Yeah,
full permission.
I'll cry later.
First time here, and you got a gold medal.
Delighted to present you with a silver gilt medal. Well done! Well done! I'm delighted to present you with a silver gilt medal. Well done!
This is the biophilic Otsu Hinari garden by famed Chelsea garden designer, Mr. Ishihara. Now, it's a fabulous garden, and he has won 11 golds in the past. Could be up for another one now.
On behalf of the RHS, I'm delighted to present you with a gold medal.
Now, we're on a garden that has become a talking point this year. This is the Savills garden, and Monty, it's become quite a controversial. It got a silver gilt medal.
Yeah, well, do you know, I'm not surprised. When I saw this garden, I saw flaws that I thought the judges probably would punish.
OK, like what?
Well, a number of things. For a start with, the tree in the middle.
Which is a central tree right in the middle of the
absolute first thing you see.
Yeah.
It looks rather sparse. It doesn't look very healthy.
Well, it hasn't come into leaf.
Yeah.
It's been late into leaf. I agree with you.
The second thing is you come from Main Avenue and you sit and you see this fantastic build at the back.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really brilliantly done. And Mark Gregory, we know, is one of the Chelsea greats.
Yeah.
If anybody can do that, he can. But I think the vegetables look like an afterthought. They look plonked in.
Well, it's the potager, and it's towards the front of it. I mean, it's got the culvert that runs through it, and I think it's a little bit impractical because you've got paths. If you imagine that you were gardening, you know, around the potager
Would you
area,
want to walk on that path?
you'd feel like as you might fall into the culvert. You know, the thing is that the judges, you know, they just take a few marks off, and you've gone from a gold through to a silver gilt. It's, I think, 6 marks.
The other thing is, you don't really know that's a kitchen at the back. You're not reading it.
Yeah.
Whereas, of course, to the designers, it's glaringly obvious. Yeah. But actually it isn't. And then when you go around the corner, you can't really see the border.
No.
You're looking at the back of it.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like it's a bit split. You've got the potager area here. There's a big sort of central. There's a little bit of a void there, and then you've got an amazing kitchen and a dining area.
Wonderful kitchen.
But you know, people are going to absolutely love this garden because it is beautiful. It's beautifully done, and silver gilt is great. I mean, I think Mark will be able to take it on the chin as well.
I mean, as I say, he is one of the most experienced, the most decorated people ever worked at Chelsea. So he, I'm sure, will take this as a kind of a failure. But there are things about this that are brilliant.
Totally.
Absolutely right. And it's interesting that, you know, we have these ideas of what should be gold and shouldn't. Take the Samaritan's Garden. Very different. Challenging.
Yes.
Lots of really big ideas. The concrete and all the rest of it. I thought that was going to be a gold medal. I thought it was beautifully done.
I'm with you. I thought it was going to be a gold medal because it sings out and the story is told throughout the garden. I think there's a bit too much figurative decoration going on. There's a figure towards the end. There's a lot of sculpture throughout, and I think there's a few horticultural errors. And I think that's what the judges picked up on that. Yeah.
I think also it's one of those gardens that is desperate to tell you a story. And if you just come along and look at it and you don't know the story, you're not getting half the garden. And I think that's a very dangerous realm to be working in because, you know, judges are pretty unforgiving. They're not interested in the story necessarily.
I mean, well, the categories are brief, construction and hort as well. You've got to tick all the boxes right across those, you know, to get a gold medal.
But it's worth pointing out that this garden and the Samaritan got silver gilt, and that is pretty good.
It's a fantastic medal at the Chelsea Flower Show. Come on! Now I know only too well the pressure involved to accomplish a garden for Chelsea. It can take months, if not years, for some designs to come to fruition, but that hasn't put off designers from around the world wanting to showcase their talents here. Jihye Huang has travelled thousands of miles to be here, and Sophie caught up with her during the garden build.
Jihye Huang is from South Korea, and her garden right here is based on a very specific landscape in her home country. It's called Mother Mountain. And believe it or not, just a few weeks' time, that is what this is going to be. Why is the mountain so special to you?
태풍 사라로 인해서 지리산이 모든 것들이 훼손되었어요. 그리고 멸종 위기 식물들과 그리고 희귀 식물들 그리고 특산 식물들이 사라져갔어요. 그런데 약 10년 정도 재생 프로젝트를 통해서 입산을 통제시키고 사람이 입산하지 않는 그 기간 동안 연간 거의 2배가량의 특산 식물들과 자생 식물들이 다시 돌아오는 것들을 우리는 경험했고 지리산은 한국의 거대한 씨앗 창고라고 생각하시면 됩니다.
And then you've got water running through the garden.
네, 이 여기에 있는 스트림 워터는 지리산의 젖줄과 같아요. 어떻게 보면 지리산의 동식물들을 길러내주는 갈증을 해소해주는 그런 스트림 워터예요.
So this is day 2, but already you have your structure up, you've got your rocks in, you're quite advanced already.
그렇기 때문에 조금 더 디테일에 대해서 신경을 쓰려고 한다면 굉장히 큰 사이즈들의 스톤들과 나무들을 빨리빨리 재배치를 하고 배열을 한 다음에 굉장히 디테일에 대해서 조금 더 집중하고 싶어요.
What is it like to be back here for the first time in 11 years?
항상 첼시 플라워 쇼가 가슴에 있었어요. 약간 지금 두렵고 떨리는 마음도 있지만 설레는 마음도 있어요.
So, how is it going?
비가 또 연거푸 내렸어요. 그래서 연일 비로 인해서 저희 작업 진도는 더딜 수밖에 없고 저희 인내심을 테스트할 수밖에 없는 시간이었어요. 돌 하나에 거의 16톤이 나가는 것도 있기 때문에 스티립이 여러 번 끊어졌어요. 그래서 안전상의 문제도 있고 많은 긴장과 스트레스가 있었던 건 사실이에요.
I'm sorry about the rain. Look, we've got sunshine now. We've got sunshine. We'll give you sunshine. The mountain is coming along there beautifully. Are you happy with the mountain?
Not yet.
No. Not yet. I love it.
Need more time.
You haven't got that much more time. So the tower is under wraps at the moment. Explain what it is used for.
이 타워는 약 높이 5m 정도를 가지고 있는 약초 건조장인데요. 온도와 습도를 조절해주고 일조량과 그리고 통풍을 도와주는 그런 건조탑입니다.
So this is the Korean herb drying tower.
That's right, yeah.
Explain what you're doing.
Well, this is wattle and daub, which is a traditional technique in Korea and in the UK as well.
And what is that you're actually putting in there?
So this here is just clay subsoil, so mud, chopped straw and a bit of sand and some lime. And the lime just helps it set a little bit. I'm hoping in the next week or so, it should be nice and firm. By the time the show opens, hopefully it'll be just right.
So you've got stress, you've got English rain, and no sleep.
Yes, BBC.
And the BBC, and us too.
We are very busy.
Very busy. All right, I'm going to let you go. Go, go, go. You make the most of the sunshine. Wow, Jie, I can't believe what you've done here. Beautiful. Are you pleased with what you've done?
Not yet.
Not yet.
톤을 조금 절제하려고 노력했고요. 이 정도면 저는 만족해요. 단지 조금 디테일에 대한 시간을 조금 더 확보하기를 원해요.
Tell me about some of the plants because they're really important to you, aren't they? They're medicinal plants.
이건 층층 둥글레예요. 이건 한국에서 개체수가 자꾸 줄어가고 있고 기후 변화에 따라서 굉장히 기후 변화에 민감한 식물들이죠. 그래서 우리가 지켜야 될 보호종 중에 하나예요. 여기에 있는 식물들은 멸종위기 식물들인데요. 이 멸종위기 식물들은 한국 지리산의 고산지대에서 살고 있는 식물들이에요.
You have 4 days left. Are you going to be ready?
It's a very cruel question.
Very cruel question.
시간이 더 많이 주어진다고 한다면 디테일을 조금 더 많이 보여주고 싶고 지리산이 가지고 있는 정말 그 소중한 이야기들을 더 담을 수 있을 것 같은데 이제 시간이 정말 없어요. 그래서 제가 집중과 선택을 해야 되는 시점이 온 것 같아요.
You will be ready.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Sylvia. Good luck.
Well, Nick, I mean, it's incredible to think that just 3 weeks ago, this was a level piece of earth, and now this has all been built up. We got a slice of Korean landscape here in the middle of Chelsea.
And it really does feel like an actual slice of landscape. And I find myself zooming and zooming and zooming in again. Every detail is just mind-blowing.
This is the second time I've been on this garden and it gets better and better. It really is. It is a slice of landscape rather than a garden, I would say.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. I mean, these rocks make the space. I understand they've come from Scotland. There's 200 tonnes of them?
Yeah, 200 tonnes. But I do feel it's a garden, I mean, you've got a gold medal, which, is undoubtedly a gold medal for me. But I do feel that you need to get onto this garden to really experience it rather than just view it from the outside. And one of the views is sort of looking up through the stream and seeing the meandering stream coming down and then the planting encroaching. It's incredibly wild, but there's a huge variety of plants in here at the same time.
And I think that texture is what makes the space really special. And there's a lot of rare and unusual things here that, of course, are being rewilded on the mountain in Korea that this is all based on.
Yeah. And it's lush. And when the light filters through, I just think it's fantastic. I mean, a lot of these plants I'm not that familiar with. You might know them better than I do.
Some of the medicinals back there, I've spotted. And I love this building. I think it's so special. It makes the space.
It really does. I mean, the attention to detail, the artistry, the craft. Jihei, congratulations.
Yes.
It is fantastic. Everybody loves it.
Really?
Really? You got a gold medal.
Yeah.
How are you feeling right now?
It's a great day all my life. Positive, thank you, my Lord. And I have a strong team. I respect our team. Thank you.
Well, thank you. It's a fabulous garden. You were here 10 years ago. I loved that garden. I love this one. I hope you'll be back.
Please come again.
Don't leave it another 10 years.
또 10년을 기다리게 하지 마세요. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, congratulations to Jihye. That was fantastic. Now, for many of us, our love of gardening started when we were children, watching and learning from family members as they tended their gardens. And it is that transmission of knowledge down the generations that has inspired Paul Harvey Brooks's Bruin Dolphin Garden, as Arit has been finding out.
This garden has definitely got a contemporary feel to it with its porcelain backdrop and this very statement pond. But what I really love about it is that it's a plantsman's garden. It's incredibly immersive with all of these wonderful tall perennials like the alliums popping out at me. But also what it does, it has plants that have been selected for nostalgia. Well, I have to say, Paul, I'm looking out onto the garden and it's looking and feeling amazing, but also as well under this amazing oak structure. You must be so happy.
I really am happy with this garden because to me it feels like a real tangible space that you could inhabit.
Yeah, definitely. Well, tell me, what is your inspiration for this garden?
So it's about how knowledge is exchanged and what I wanted to do at the end of the garden with the pavilion, it's above the ground level. So it's kind of like you've travelled through the garden, you've absorbed all of the information and you're at a point where you can share that knowledge and those skills again. And I just think it's really important to kind of have that reference point that actually knowledge is shared so freely and so easily, but you have to be receptive to it.
Yes, it's true. And I guess one of the things I sort of understand about this garden is that it's an imagined couple who have had knowledge from their grandparents. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And it's important because I think they're young, so they've got their own taste, but so often, particularly with gardens, we get cuttings and plants from our grandparents or older generations, and I quite like the idea of having that brought together and then just feeling comfortable.
Well, it certainly feels comfortable to me, and I can see the style of what you've done here. There are references to the cottage garden, the aquilegia and the poppies, but you've used the contemporary ideas of like these punctuated hornbeam domes. You know, it kind of gives that kind of feeling, and obviously as well like your art pieces here as well.
Yeah, and I like that fusion because I think that the owners of this space would have those plants from their grandparents and other people they know who are of older generation. They'd be passed down to them, but they'd also be choosing plants that they've discovered for themselves and kind of making the two fuse together in their own style. And I think that's, for me, the most important thing about it.
Yeah, well, I think you've given so much inspiration for anybody coming down today. I'm sure this garden is going to be really loved, so well done.
Thank you very much.
It isn't just in the gardens where the stakes are high. Over in the Great Pavilion, the nurseries have also faced the scrutiny of the judges, and they've all been awarded their medals. So, who better to review a busy day in the pavilion than award-winning plantswoman Carol Klein?
I just love that feeling of anticipation in the Great Pavilion on Medals Day. And this year, there are some returning exhibitors who are hoping to add more golds to their collection. Congratulations, Nicola.
Thank you.
How many is this?
That's number 27. So,
27
yeah.
gold Chelsea medals. That's quite something, isn't it?
It takes 12 years to breed a new rose, so yeah, it's been ongoing for a long time.
Charlotte, absolutely brilliant news. You have won gold.
We did. We got our 30th gold medal and I'm absolutely overjoyed.
So is this 30 consecutive medals?
It's 28 consecutive.
Not bad. How many times have I seen you here?
Well, personally, I've been here for 31 years.
Yeah.
The company has been coming here for 110.
It must be so difficult keeping up that standard. Do you get nervous, though? Do you get worried?
Every year, yeah.
There are a number of first-timers who've really made their mark. Dawn, your first Chelsea and your first goal.
I know, it's amazing. So emotional. You just.
Did you cry?
I did cry, yes, I did.
It's your first time exhibiting as John Peace.
Yes,
yeah?
and I thought, well, silver gilt, yeah, for the first time. And then when we come in and saw a gold medal, oh, the tears just started.
So, first Chelsea.
Yeah.
First goal.
Yeah.
It looks utterly perfect. It's just wonderful. I think it's one of the most exciting displays I've ever seen.
Oh, wow. That means a lot. Thank you so much. What an honour. Pleasure. Thank you.
It's gorgeous. And here in the pavilion, exhibitors really do show the enterprise and endeavour it takes to win gold. Huge congratulations. It's a monumental and magical stand.
Some of these plants are 20, 30 years old, and it's just lovely to be able to bring some of the really big show plants here, which it makes it special.
Well, Catherine, you really have gone the extra mile, haven't you?
Yes, we have. Everything has travelled from Grenada, the Spice Island of the West.
I bet that aeroplane smelt beautiful. How on earth do you manage to get all this looking so naturalistic?
I spent about 3.5 weeks in Ecuador doing a study on how they grow in the natural habitat.
Yeah.
And that has really helped me with the displays because I've seen it in the real, you know, seen it real.
Seen it for real.
Yeah.
Well, shall I tell you what? It was worth it.
Thank you.
Now I'm joined by Sue Kent, a familiar face to viewers on Gardener's World, of course. Sue, are you enjoying the show?
I'm loving the show. I'm getting a lot more from it this year because, of course, I did a show garden last year and now I understand more.
Yeah, Hampton Court was a great garden. So that's given you an insight, has it?
It's given me an insight at how difficult it is to get all these plants to this perfection and, you know, all the construction and everything that goes behind it all.
And the hard work.
And the hard work.
And the tears.
And the tears, and yes, and getting everybody on board for your vision. And I also think that I've become, you know, a much more discerning when I'm looking at what I'm seeing now.
Nitpicking. You start seeing, you know, you see perfection, but you also see tiny little faults and why the judges give awards like they do.
Because I've been judged now and I know what they're looking for.
Yeah.
And so I'm getting much more from it. And, you know, this is a beautiful stand.
Absolutely stunning, isn't it? Raymond Everson's clematis. I mean, you know, the plant perfection we have here. And they're all clematis. He's done this all with one plant.
I know it's, but every bloom is perfect.
Yeah.
And the way the tone, the colours just merge beautifully from one to another. And I love these arches. I love the repetition of them, you know, bringing height to the display.
Yeah.
It's absolutely brilliant.
It's very simple, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, outside in the gardens, you know, there's a best show garden of the year, and inside they give a best exhibit as well. They have their judging criteria. Should we go and find?
Yeah, let's go and find
the winner.
The winner. Yeah, let's go. And this is it, Tales Bay House and Garden by Billy Alexander. What do you think?
I think it's stunning. I can see why it won. I mean, the staging, the drama, the quality of the plants. It's just ferns here, you know, from all over the world, but a tapestry of greens. It does sort of...
It's very calming, isn't it? In all this colour, it really is a little haven of calm.
Yeah.
And I think the one of the way that they're marked is on the endeavour, the effort it's put in to create the stand, and this is a lot of effort, and it really deserves the award, I think.
It really does. I mean, these big Dixonias, they have plenty of height as well, which is what you want. You know, even in the Great Pavilion here, you want to try and get some
And they brought it down gradually, haven't they, by the black stem fern over there, which is beautiful, but it's only hardy, I think, to 3-3, isn't it?
It is. I managed to kill one of those in my time. Sue, lovely to see you. I'll see you around.
I'll see you around, Joe.
Well done, Billy. Many congratulations. Now, here's what else we've got in store for you on tonight's coverage of the RHS Chelsea Flower Show 2023. an event supported by the Newt in Somerset. I will be meeting a couple who gave up their jobs to follow their dream of becoming full-time garden designers. Now they're here at Chelsea. Francis has the first selection of new plants being displayed this year, so get your notebooks at the ready. Now first, Adam is taking a look behind all the beauty, revealing how designers have used planting and hard materials to create gardens that are resilient to our changing climate and deliver an astonishing display.
Every year, garden design at Chelsea evolves. Designers just keep moving it forward. Yes, they produce us beautiful exhibits to enjoy, but those same people are well aware of the environmental challenges our gardens face. Take this garden. Ultimately, it's designed for a community, and you might be looking and saying, yeah, but there's a lot of concrete and I really don't want that in my garden. Yeah, I get it, but it can still influence. Straight away, I'm looking down here and yeah, there's big lumps of concrete. But these gaps in between, yeah, the water hits it, it runs off, that's permeable. But it also gives you the chance just to grow in the gaps. Actually, if I come across to these seats, that stacked and held in together with the old reinforcing iron, that's a superb habitat. I also love the way that the top just stops, so few things can seed around. And talking about habitat, they've got a huge bit of timber back there. I know, not everybody is just gonna leave half a tree in their garden, but maybe a few slices of logs tucked back in a corner. And you look closely, it's got all the debris from last year's fall. We're a little bit too tidy in our gardens. We've got to start to think we're living with wildlife. The tidier we are, the more we clean up. We're taking away food, we're taking away habitats. And the way that we plant our gardens, you look the moment at the price of food, our gardens can help. I'm sat in water mint. It goes all under the bridge. So it's just those little details that can really help. It's quite interesting design-wise. Say you've got the concrete, but then the paths and the bridges take you to the building. That material really drags you in. This is a little mad, but it does prove you don't even need a garden to grow your own food. The wonderful thing about this is it's real, and it's going to be a community garden. People are going to get so much from this. But also the beauty of this is the materials are low cost. You know, it's recycling. On top of that, this is definitely lower maintenance, but the biodiversity here is huge, and that has got to be a good thing. Lads, I've just had a good look round, and I think it's a cracking garden.
Thank you.
Detail and understanding of what you're doing is brilliant.
This is a real space that's going to live on in Markfield Park in Tottenham. So that's the most exciting thing about this. That this is relatable, it's affordable.
All of these materials are from that local site. And so a lot of this concrete is taken from the waste disposal place next door, and a lot of durable materials that will last the length of time so that the community can really enjoy it.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant, honestly.
Of course, the most important element of any show garden, of whatever type, are the plants, whether they be trees or rare annuals. And it's not just the quality of the individual plants, but the combination of them. How they are put together is where the magic happens. And the master of plant combinations, who has proved his worth at Chelsea for many years now, is Chris Beardshaw. And Chris, you've done it again. You've got a gold medal, deservedly, for your superb planting.
Thank you.
It's a joy. So to talk me through Can we actually walk me through? Don't talk me through the garden, because I know you, that there is nothing here that hasn't got a meaning, hasn't got a resonance.
Yeah.
Tell me the story of the plant.
Well, there's a very different transition, I suppose, from that point. You know, you're coming into a dappled shade woodland garden. Yeah. The front of the garden is much more about the a traditional open border, I suppose.
Right.
And the point of the exercise really is to bring us through into this first sort of resting point, which is the first proper glimpse we get.
And this,
of an
I
opening.
mean, we have to mention that the myeloma story. There is an actual story behind the planting, isn't there?
There is.
Yeah.
So very much based on one individual who described to us in elaborate detail the feeling that they had when coping with a diagnosis. And of course, myeloma is a condition for which there is no cure at the moment. And the way that the garden helps to I suppose, allow you to find that freedom of thought, that pause, that eye for detail.
You as a designer have to use plants as a palette to create those emotions, that story, and all these people watching who maybe don't know about the story, or for whatever reason it's not their story. Yeah. That's quite a tricky balance, isn't it?
It is. Well, first and foremost, it's about creating a beautiful garden. You know, and the idea that
you succeed on that score, Chris.
That
done that.
Once you've got the beautiful garden, you can then start to unlock the narrative. So as you move through from that more traditional border, you know, the diagnosis of myeloma perhaps sends you on a path, a little bit of a circuitous route through for which there's no obvious conclusion, and we become more and more immersed in a hierarchy of tree canopies of varying shapes and sizes. And it brings us to this point, this collection point.
And this is quite shady.
This is all about shade and also muted colours. You know, all principally greens, and it's texture, and it's about removing the superfluous. So in a way, the story of this garden, in essence, is about saying, let's pause, let's take a moment to enjoy the moment we're in. Look for the detail, because it's the detail which brings that enrichment to life. Let's not chase things. Let's enjoy where we are right now.
It's beautifully put, and it's a beautiful garden. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Now, Chelsea is the place for nurseries and growers to launch new plants. And this year is no different, with dozens of varieties making their debut that may well end up becoming firm favourites in our gardens for years to come. Francis has the first 3 new plants to add to your wish list.
This year we're spoilt for choice here in the Great Pavilion, but which of these new varieties will you be lusting after in your gardens? Chelsea is the ultimate pinnacle for a grower to launch a new variety, but it takes years of dedication, selection of good breeds, and then crossbreeding, growing them on and trialling them to make sure they're excellent, robust, good performing plants before they then come here for their big showcase. One such plant is this new introduction this year. This is Salvia cross sylvestris Purple Spring, and it's absolutely stunning. Look at those flowers, tall spikes, and this is capable of early flowering as well as repeat flowering. So if you cut this back in the middle of the summer, hopefully you'll get another flush of flowers in the autumn. So all these salvias are a little bit more capable of some shade. They don't want full shade, but a little bit, as long as there's good drainage. And this one is at Middleton Nurseries and was bred by Simon Crawford. Here on the Hoyland stand, they have introduced a brand new clivia. It's called Jewel in the Crown, and it's a cross between Miniata and the Nobilis species. People often say they can't get their clivias to flower again. Now, the key is to take them outside somewhere slightly cooler in the autumn, so about September time, get them below 10 degrees, and then crucially, before the first frosts, bring them indoors again. And then you keep them nice and dry for December and January, and from February onwards, start watering and feeding them regularly. When they finish flowering, they'll produce beautiful berries, which is just as attractive, I think, as the flower itself. So Darren, your first time exhibiting here at Chelsea.
Yes,
How's
absolutely.
it gone?
Yeah, it's a challenge.
Yeah, but you got here, and so did Dawn Everest, your new introduction.
Yes, it's a very special, very dear to my heart, this one. This was one I had named for my wife for her wedding present 11 years ago now.
Why is it such a good variety?
It does have lovely long stems. It's a beautiful pink on a white background. A lovely, beautiful scent to it.
So could you talk me through some of your kind of tips for growing the best possible sweet peas?
A lot of people make the mistake of growing them up a wigwam, but the plants want to grow bigger. You know, so they start off small, they want to go outwards. They really need to be in an inverted wigwam, or ideally a column. Just keep feeding them through, and you'll have lovely flowers to cut. And that keeps the air circulation going around, stops any mildew from kicking in later in the season.
Now, in the pavilion, the All About Plants garden category is back for a second year, welcoming more debutants to create a garden that displays plants from specialist nurseries. Like Joe and Laura Carey, who discovered their passion for gardening only a few years ago and sent a video in to us at Gardeners World during lockdown. And that showed the incredible transformation that they'd made in their garden in Luton. Now, this ignited their desire to become full-time garden designers, and they've been flourishing ever since. And now they're here at Chelsea. Well, it's an amazing achievement just to be here, to have this fantastic stand. What did the judges think? How did the medals go?
We got gold.
That is fantastic. That is absolutely wonderful. And are you sort of slightly shocked? Or did you assume, of course you'd get a gold?
Yeah, we're absolutely blown away, to be honest.
It hasn't sunk in at all.
Yeah, it really hasn't. It really hasn't. Yeah, it's so exciting.
I mean, your life has changed a lot recently, hasn't it?
That is an understatement.
Yeah. And this will change it. This is another door you're going through that will change everything too.
Yeah,
well,
definitely.
Absolutely, yeah. And we have just loved every minute of the show, and it's just so nice to just have a gold medal, just to kind of recognise all the hard work of everyone that's worked with us, and just that joy that we found in creating it.
So you've come here, you've achieved as much success as it's possible for two human beings to do. In terms of the plants and the stand, has it worked out as you wanted? Have you managed to bring your plants? Did it all carry through as you intended?
I mean, a few things didn't work, and
like
a few
what?
things did. Well, it's been quite a cold spring, so our digitalis didn't really do anything. Right. But we have a few. We have a few just there. They're not very tall. Yeah. But the best thing is that the cold spring has meant that our Enkianthus campanulatus, the shrub just behind me, has held its flowers and looks absolutely stunning. And it's off and over for Chelsea, so it's really nice.
Well, it certainly looks stunning. Absolutely amazing. And the whole sense of poise, and you know, with your butterflies obviously running through it, is incredibly assured. Did you have to set it up and plan it and tinker with it, or is this just something that came naturally?
We this is quite modular, so we've not used any concrete, which means that we were able to assemble it on our front drive and walk it and things like that.
And of course, really importantly, I think, is you didn't use any peat either, did you?
That's right.
Yeah, our plants were grown in peat-free compost, and I mean that's obviously just it's just wonderful to be able to do that.
It certainly shows that you certainly don't need peat to have an incredible selection of plants.
Yeah.
It looks fantastic. Just well done. Enjoy it.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Now, I'm in a garden that's really got many people talking this week. Cleve West has designed a space that's unlike a traditional garden, but it's one that has a deep backstory, and it's completely delivered its brief perfectly. And as a consequence, it's been awarded a gold medal. And the whole story here is about homelessness. And right at the core is this completely dilapidated building. It's the home that's sort of disintegrated and fallen apart. The whole thing is really a metaphor, and wherever you look, there are messages that come through, some of them very subtly, and others are loud and clear. What's interesting is that although the building itself has fallen apart, what's happened is that nature has colonised everywhere that you look. So it just shows that although some things can actually change for the worse, other good things can come out of it. And the planting is wonderful. There are lots of plants here that one would recognise. Things like the Aquilegia, there are herbaceous geraniums, There's a wisteria over there, which although it's sort of fallen off its support, it's still absolutely beautiful. Running through the centre of the garden is this fallen birch tree, quite a substantial tree, and it just shows that passage of change, you know, that something can die, but then there are other silver birches going through the garden that just have that sort of, that sense that there's new life. There are new baby plants coming through. There are weeds here too. Look at this beautiful creeping buttercup and the Welsh poppy and the bright orange and the yellow. I mean, they're actually plants that you would welcome into your garden, I feel. And the other thing is that not all the show gardens here at Chelsea are designed to be replicated in our own gardens at home, but they do start really important conversations about subjects that matter.
Joining me now is one of the UK's most celebrated fashion designers, Bruce Oldfield. Now, Bruce, you are fresh from designing Her Majesty Queen Camilla's coronation gown, which is quite something.
It was. I think, you know, people called it the capping of my career. Well, the career's not over just yet. But yeah, it was a great honour, and it was asked in a very kind of relaxed, casual way. Oh, can you do my coronation dress? Oh, yes, ma'am. Yeah. You know, it was as casual
and
as that.
Flowers were an important part of it.
Oh, yes, they had to be. And I didn't really want to have all of the. Well, I had to use the emblems of the UK. I refused the leek. And we said we'll do a daffodil, even though the daffodils are very, very difficult to embroider, believe me. But yeah, and I particularly like sort of wildflowers and things that are growing all over the place, and that's what we did, sort of in miniature, lots of lovely strands and swathes of wildflowers, and none of which I can remember right at this minute. But yeah, it was a great ask, and it was great fun doing it. 6 years of my life, it was fun. It was fun.
And I've known you for a long time, and I don't really think of you as a gardener, but you are a gardener, aren't you?
I did have a fabulous garden in Hurstpierpoint. It was right on the downs, right at the hill, at the bottom of the hill called Wolstonbury Hill. Right. Yeah, it was absolutely fabulous, and it had been the garden to a large house. So it was, I think, a Victorian garden, and it just had marvellous soil.
So now you're back in London, in a flat.
I'm back in a flat on the Thames. So I get up and open the windows, and there's the river.
And I think the thing that perhaps many people don't know is that you and I first met and started working together 42 years ago.
Was it? Was it 81?
It was 81 or 82, and
goodness,
we were young, feckless. You were well known. I mean, you were a star.
No, I was older. I'm older than you, Monty. You were the feckless one. I was the slightly more mature one. But yeah, it was a great time, wasn't it? You making a lot of fabulous jewellery.
Yeah, we made a lot. Well, you made fabulous frocks and dresses. We made jewellery, and I have to say that this man gave us our big break, and I will forever be indebted to you.
Diane?
Because you were the one who believed in us and gave us our chance.
Aww.
And that was amazing.
Well, that's nice. And you did.
Thank you. And we're still here. We're still going.
Yeah. Well, I'm still doing what I was doing then.
Well, I'm still doing what I was doing after work. I was gardening.
I was going to ask you that, and I thought, well, this is your gig. No. You better ask me the question.
Well, thank you very much for coming along. Anyway, thank you. It's nearly time to reveal the winner of the Best Show Garden Award, which is, of course, the highest accolade on Main Avenue that's reserved only for gold medal winners. Now, our very own gold medal winner is Joe Swift, as you may have heard him remind me again and again, has his guide on those in contention for the top prize.
This is Horatio's garden. It's a fully accessible space, and it's to be experienced whilst moving through it in a wheelchair. Now, there's so much craftsmanship here. We've got building behind me, and then we've got this water feature as well, all tied together with the planting. It's a really wonderful space, and I can see why it got a gold. This is the centre point garden, and it's really dividing opinion because some people think, oh, there's loads of weeds in here, but actually it's very evocative. I think it's wonderful, but which side of the fence do you sit on? This is the Myloma UK garden, and there's a very simple journey through it. Viewpoints out and through the garden. The textures and the lovely softness, the coolness of all the greens coming together with the odd punctuation of colour is Chris Beardshaw's signature style. It's fabulous. This is a letter from a million years past, and it's a great garden to explore. Look at the scale of this garden. Now, it really looks wild and natural, but actually there's a lot of artistry in here. The horticulture is spot on. This is the Nurture Landscapes garden, and it's a very simple design, just a single step down from one level to the other, but it's all about Sarah Price's painterly style and the craftsmanship of each element. It is absolutely beautiful. Well, I think there are some really good gardens this year, but who did the judges think was best show garden? Well, Monty and I joined the Director General of the RHS, Claire Matson, a little earlier to surprise the winner.
One of those contenders is this garden, Horatio's Garden, which is a space that has been specially adapted and is truly immersive. And after the show, this will be relocated to the Princess Royal Spinal Injury Centre in Sheffield. Now, hello, Charlotte, and you, Hugo. Congratulations, a gold medal.
Thank you very
Did you
much.
know it was a gold medal garden?
We were really proud of it as a
Yeah.
team, but you never quite know. You know, it's very tough criteria, particularly this year to get a gold.
Yeah.
So we were very anxious standing on the trackway waiting for the news.
And actually, also, your brief was very special. Oh, Joe, fine.
You can't get me off this guy.
No, we've got to have you in here.
Hi,
Is Joe definite to meet you? And also, I think you've got another visitor too.
Oh my goodness. So Charlotte and Hugo, I am delighted to present you with Best Show Garden. Thank you. Thank you. So deserved.
Now tell me, honestly, just between you, is this something that you secretly hoped for? Is this something that you thought might be possible?
No, no. I think we're here because we really wanted to make this garden, and our dream was to get a gold for it. So this is. I'm speechless, and that rarely happens.
Yeah, standing on the trackway at 7 in the morning is always the same. You just don't know. You never know. Like, however hard we work, and however proud we are of the garden, you know, we thought it was amazing, but you just still don't know, and you can never aim for a best in show.
Now. Yeah, we do know.
Yeah.
No, I love the way you didn't have a clue.
Not a clue.
But I mean, it's such a wonderful charity, isn't it, to be involved in? So I mean, it's not just about you two. Obviously, it's about the charity too.
About the charity, and also just to acknowledge everybody who's been involved in this garden. Everybody sees the designers, but contractors, plants people, fabricators, nurseries, you know, and all the patients that we spoke to kind of prepare our design for this garden and for the charity for inviting us to do it, really.
Well, it's absolutely singing in this sunshine.
Enjoy it.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you. Well, many congratulations to Charlotte and Hugo, but time to check to see if myself and Joe got our predictions right. I sort of know the answer to that.
I'm not feeling too good this year, Monty.
Well, open the box, open the seat, and you will find that I wrote...
You wrote... Sarah Price.
And you wrote Sarah Price.
Yes, because we both love Sarah Price's garden.
Well, the truth is...
But we are not the judges.
No, I mean... We chose Sarah Price's garden, I didn't, because you've said, we just thought it was wonderful, beautiful, brilliantly done.
Yes.
Which is not a bad reason to choose as best in show.
Yeah, exactly.
But, as you point out, it's not like that.
No, because the judges have so many different criteria. They're very objective. We are being subjective, and we love that garden, you know, and that's how it works. I mean, but how could you judge, say, Cleve West's garden against Sarah Price's garden?
Yeah.
It's very hard. So you have to have criteria. I mean, I'm defending the judges. I don't know why. I thought it was going to be Sarah Price, but that's the system.
I think that the key thing is it's nothing to do whether you like it or not.
No. Exactly.
It's whether it performs as it said.
And they're judging against their brief that they write, and then there's construction and horticulture, and it has to be absolute perfection, doesn't it? Well, did you agree with the judges or myself and Monty? Well, tomorrow you get the chance to have your say when myself and Sophie will be launching the BBC RHS People's Choice Award on BBC One at 7:30. Only one large show garden can claim top spot, and the decision is in your hands. Plus, we will be joined by a very special guest, AJ Adudu.
And not me. Not me, it'll be Sophie. We're easy to confuse.
I know, you look similar.
Now, it's time for our Ask Monty and Joe, and we've got some good questions today.
Yeah, we have.
Read them out.
OK, Jeremy Soden asks, I'm building a large wildlife pond, 30 foot by 20 foot. That's a good size. What are the best plants to put in it? It's about 4 foot deep at its deepest point. It has several shelves of differing depth. So it sounds like a well-constructed
It's
pond.
well-constructed. I mean, I suspect you know the answer to this, but the crucial thing for a wildlife pond is cover some marginal plants all the way right. Maybe have a beach. I don't know if you've got that, but you know, it's irises. You can have
Tifa minima, which is
yeah.
well, it's a dwarf. People call bulrush. It's a reed mace.
Yeah. The only thing I would say, if you put flag iris in, be slightly wary. They can become very invasive.
Yeah, and then there's oxygenators. I would put some oxygenating plants in, and maybe a dwarf water lily.
Yeah, a dwarf water lily. They're like depth, so just a small one. And the other thing I'd just say is, once you've planted, leave it. Yeah.
Be patient, and it will find a balance, won't it? OK, here's Tracy Moorcroft. I'm moving to a house where I can have a tree in the garden, but I don't want a tree with invasive roots.
Oh, God.
What would you plant?
Well, the first thing is, why do people obsess about invasive roots? Very few trees have invasive roots. I wouldn't plant a cherry, because they do have very shallow roots, and probably not a willow. I'm a great fan of fastigiate trees, actually. Upright trees, upright beech, you can have a hornbeam, you can have an oak, you can have all kinds of
I love multi-stem trees. You get a lot of volume, you know, Cornus cusa, your flowers,
crab apples.
autumn
crab
colour.
apples, wonderful.
Crab apples, I'll agree with you.
And you
there.
can plant a tree in a pot too, no reason why not.
As long as you water it a lot.
Yeah.
Yes, OK. Olivia asks, to save money in my new garden, I'm growing lots of hardy perennials from seed, currently in a cold frame in hundreds of 9-inch pots. When would you plant them out?
Pots?
9. It says 9-inch.
OK,
9
it says 9
centimetres.
Probably 9 centimetres. Very quickly, what I would say is check the roots. If they're filling the pot, pot them on. I wouldn't plant before October myself. I'm a great fan of October planting.
That's very good gardening advice, Monty. Thank you very much. Well, we love to hear from you, so keep your gardening questions about this year's Chelsea coming. You can get in touch via our Twitter, Instagram and Facebook.
And, of course, we will be back on BBC Two tomorrow evening at 8 o'clock. So until then, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.